You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauryn Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy-to-implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life.
I am the greatest. I said that before I knew I was. Muhammad Ali. How's it going, Lauryn?
It's going good, Travis. Well, other than the fact that I didn't sleep last week because I kind of told myself I wasn't going to sleep last week, so that's probably part of it. Yeah, we were planning on recording another episode at some point last week, and I was so sleep deprived that I didn't get like anything done. I was running behind every day. It was bad. So we're changing the way that I'm talking this week. Oh my gosh. Can you hear her?
The dog has been silent for the entire hour and 10 minutes we've been on this Zoom call preparing for this episode, and now Keely decides to bark.
She wants to make sure everybody hears her 2 cents. Yes. The only other thing that has happened this week, because I was half asleep for most of it, I went down to Phoenix and got to see my grandparents for the first time in over a year, which is really exciting. We got to see them for Mother's Day.
That's very exciting.
So awesome. Yeah, my grandma is 91 and my grandpa is 95, I think. And they're like probably the most amazing people I've ever met. So it was so good to see them.
Wow.
So what's been new with you, Trav?
Oh, well, the boys lost this weekend.
I saw your post. No.
Yeah. It was a heartbreaker in overtime.
Dang it.
To our rival. Oh well.
They had a good season though.
Yeah, that was the first loss. Unfortunately, It came in the playoffs.
Dang it.
It's not when you want to lose, but
no, definitely.
It's okay. It was a great season. It was a lot of fun. What else happened? Julie's parents came up for the weekend, so that was fun. We got to take them on a tour of our houses that we were buying, and yeah, I think that's about it. I don't feel like this week was as crazy as the past couple of weeks have been, so that's good.
Yeah, you've had a lot of excitement over the last month, I feel like.
Yeah, it's probably been more like 2 to 3 months, but yeah, life's been exciting, that's for sure. What are we talking about today?
So today we are going to talk about the effect of our words and stories that we tell ourselves on our confidence and esteem and anxiety and depression, and also how that can affect others.
Okay, well, that sounds
interesting.
That sounds very interesting. Let's get to it.
Yeah, so I mean, this made a lot of sense as we were brainstorming about what kind of episode to do this week, because as I talked about in what's been going on with my life, last week I predicted I wasn't going to sleep, and I told myself I'm probably not going to sleep, and guess what? I didn't sleep. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. So this week I have already started telling myself I'm going to sleep this week. I'm going to sleep great this week. And I'm hoping that will have a very different effect than last week. And the research that we've done on things like positive self-affirmation kind of back up this whole theory that I've got going on this week.
Yeah, well, it's a good try. Like, you don't really have anything to lose.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I didn't like school. Mom, if you're listening to this, I faked being sick a lot in elementary school because I didn't want to be there. And I would sometimes mom and dad would kick me out of the home. They'd be like, no, you're going to school. You've missed too many days. So I'd go to school and I'd continue to fake that I was sick. That way I could get sent home. and it would work most of the time. But what I remember happening is a lot of times I would fake a stomach ache, and by the time I would get to go home, I actually had a stomach ache.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I talked myself into being sick. That's not a great place to be, I don't think.
But imagine what you could do if instead of saying I'm sick or I'm not going to sleep, and instead you were, I am going to sleep and I'm going to feel great and my workout's going to go great and my life's going to go great and today's going to be a really good day. Like, if what we've experienced is true, then the opposite's probably also true.
Yeah, and there's some evidence that backs that up. We have a one study here that tested students and their self-confidence before and after positive affirmations. And basically they just found that the self-confidence was low before the positive affirmations, and after doing those, it was significantly higher, which is good.
Which is really good. And that's actually one of my, so I think we talked about it last week on our intro to our last episode, that I struggle with confidence. So Travis actually gave me another one of my positive self-affirmations for this week. Not only am I going to sleep great this week, but I am confident.
That's
I'm
right.
not supposed to laugh after that. I'm confident.
Yeah, I'm the one that gets the laugh. No,
Right.
I wouldn't laugh. You should be confident. You should be very confident.
Yes. Yeah. But this study shows that, I mean, there's a correlation there. There's an effect there, that if I could say something like that, like, I don't even know, it didn't go into what specifically these students said in their positive affirmation sentences or messages or whatever. But like in my head, if I say I'm confident every single day for this month, my confidence is going to go up.
I would definitely agree with that. And yeah, I think that you will notice positive changes and feel better about yourself. So go you.
All good things.
So I have another one that I find very interesting, because you're talking about positive affirmations and we'll get back to those. But what are the words we say to others? What's the effect of that? And I am extremely positive with others. I don't know if you knew that, Lauryn, from our years in grad school.
Yes, I definitely knew that.
Yes. And I think that I have significant benefits in my, not only my patient relationships, but in their success in therapy, because of my confidence and positivity towards their abilities to get over pain or just improve their abilities in the home or whatever we're working on. Stop falling. That's a big one. So there is a study from Florida where they took some NYU students and it's called the Florida Effect Study. It's not from Florida. It was NYU students. They took them. So this is college students. And what they did is they took them and they put them into two groups. In one group, they had just random words that they had to fit into a sentence. So the other group, on the other hand, had words like Florida, old, lonely, gray, forgetful, wrinkle. And they had to put those words into a sentence. And they were told that that was the whole experiment, but then they had to go sign out of the experiment. And what the researchers were really doing was measuring their walking speed down the hall to sign out after they read those words, either the random words or the words related to elderly people. And what they found in these college age students, so I think they were 21 to 24, is that the students that read the elderly words walked slower compared to those who read the neutral words by 7 seconds going down the hall.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That is And that's just reading words. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even like somebody important saying them to you about you. That's
Yeah.
reading words that theoretically like have no meaning to you, affecting the way that you walk. Like your walking speed is slower.
Correct. So I was not aware of this study before, I don't know, a couple days ago when I had heard about it on an audiobook that I was listening to. And holy cow. So I've always been amazed at the difference in people's lives that I can have when I walk in the door and I'm there for usually an hour, and then I'm there for 45 minutes a couple of days later and 45 minutes a couple of days later. And I've always thought it's kind of sad that I can have such a great impact, because the fact that I can have such a great impact is because the people in your life aren't that supportive, because nothing I do with my patients is magical. It's just they don't have either the confidence in themselves a lot of times to change their situation, or they don't have the support around them to give them the confidence. And all they need is some random redhead walking in their door, and in 45 minutes I can change your life. I find that weird and kind of sad, until I heard about this and then read this study and figured out that you don't even need somebody in your face telling you it.
You could just read it.
You can just read random words on a paper and it can ruin your day.
Or make your day if you read better words.
Yeah, well, they didn't study that, so I can't
That's
quite
true.
go there. But yeah, it can make you walk more slowly just by reading those words. So that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that is crazy. And I think that goes to show how important, like you were saying, like the people who you surround yourself with are. That kind of makes me think back to our friendship episode that we did, that like you are like the sum of the 5 people around you, kind of. Because if you have people in your life who are feeding into those like negative narratives that you believe about yourself for whatever reason, that's going to change the course of your life in a negative way. Whereas if you have people around you, like Travis, like he said, like, you remember how I was in grad school. He was that really positive influence on me, which made a huge difference in a lot of areas of my life. I had a lot of, like, PT school was hard for academic reasons, but also just like social reasons, and like other things going on in my life were very challenging during that time. And Travis was kind of one of those, and I had a few others too. Luckily, I have a good set of really close friends, but Travis was one of those who constantly was just this like positive light, and really focused on like my positive qualities, which is, I don't know, people don't just like shout your own positive qualities at you very often, but that, like, Travis does that. And it makes a really big difference in your life. It made a huge difference in my life. That's part of the reason why I kept you around.
Well, at that time, I wasn't very positive about myself all the time, but that's gotten better, and I'm still positive outwardly. So it works well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's another study here. I'll let you go over this one where they did the fMRIs.
Yeah. So they did another study on people who were doing self affirmations or positive self affirmations. And they actually did an FMRI where they studied their brain and how their brain activated differently when they were doing these self affirmation tests. The fMRI showed increased activity in key regions of the brain for self-processing and valuation systems, specifically when reflecting in future-oriented goals and values, which is awesome. So it's actually showing that saying things like, I am confident. I'm just going to keep saying it. That's mine. I am confident actually lights up centers in your brain that help you kind of believe that. So, I mean, that's the whole theory behind positive self-affirmation, right? Is you say it enough that you start to believe it, and you become it. But this is kind of showing that that's actually kind of happening in your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that goes back. I mean, there's another quote that you had brought up. Those who say they can and those who say they can't are both right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's same idea again. Just the things you say to yourself and to others actually matter.
It really
Um,
matters.
yeah. Yeah. And we talked about negative self-talk before and all this stuff. So yeah, that's a cool one though, that it can show that it lights up areas of the brain that are valuable in,
Mhm.
success,
Yeah.
or believed to be, because we don't know that much about neurology, even though we like to think we do.
Right.
I don't mean you and me, I mean humans.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you down, Lauren.
I know you never would.
So I found another study that looked at random self-affirmations. I think that spontaneous, that's what they called it. Spontaneous self-affirmations. And found that people that use spontaneous self-affirmations had reported better mental health and well-being, greater happiness, less depression, less anxiety, a more pleasant affect, and improved life satisfaction, which those are really big ideas or big deals, that I think everybody should want in their life.
Yeah, I don't know. It's again we're returning to those simple strategies that you can use in everyday life that, I mean, research is showing that these are making a difference. So like I wrote, I don't know, for those of you looking at our YouTube, like right here is my I am confident affirmation. And if I can keep saying that and it does all these things for me, greater happiness, improved satisfaction, less anxiety, which for me, that's a big deal. And pleasant, I mean, I think I'm a pleasant person.
Yeah,
Maybe
you have a
Travis would
pleasant
disagree.
affect.
Yeah, okay.
No.
So I mean, that one I think I've got, but if it can do all those other things for me just by saying this to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that. And that's so easy. That takes like what, 5 seconds of my life to just say that to myself.
I mean, I am confident. I don't
I'm
think that takes
confident.
5 seconds in your
2.5,
life.
2.5 seconds.
I
One
don't know.
second. I don't know. It's funny
Yeah.
because I think I really did not realize how often I use positive self affirmations. I started talking to you, Travis, like as we were preparing for this episode, and I was like, I don't know when I use this. I mean, I'm doing it right now for sleep, but then I'm thinking back to like grad school, and I used to write on my mirrors all these like positive self affirmations all the time, and like this is kind of something I come back to a lot. Like I really, especially, I love writing them on my mirror because when I read them, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and saying them to myself. And for me, that like hits differently than just like saying it to like an open room. But if I go in the bathroom after this and I say I am confident while I'm looking at my own face, that hits different.
It's another feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a visual feedback loop as well as the auditory feedback loop. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. I
Yeah.
don't think we'll find any research on that,
Probably not, but
but I
I
think
think
it
it's
makes
helpful.
sense. Yeah, I think it makes sense. That's awesome. Yeah, so I don't use these very often, I'll be completely honest. Although I'm going to start because I've been having trouble not sleeping. I sleep well,
Yeah.
but getting up in the morning has been a struggle recently, which is not usually my struggle. I don't know exactly why. Um, it's a lot annoying,
It's a
but
lot annoying.
but yes. So I'm going to take that. But I was also thinking back, and the things that I did to get over the negative self-talk were positive affirmations.
Yeah,
It was like I said something bad about myself, and then I say 3 good things about
that's
myself.
right.
So that was positive affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
So there was at least one time in my life that I frequented positive affirmations.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very valuable tool and very easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So just assignment or challenge, not an assignment. What
Not an
am I
assignment. That
saying?
sounds like homework, which is gross.
Yeah, screw school. Uh, challenge this week would be to write down 3 things about yourself that you want to perceive yourself as. So maybe it's I am confident, maybe it's I am bold, maybe it's I am healthy. Um, Write those things down and then try and say them every day, at least once a day. And maybe try and be cognizant of your speech to others and how it might affect you.
Yeah.
You could be making somebody think that they're old, which I've seen a lot. It being a physical therapist that works with mostly elderly patients.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is extremely damaging to people. I've had, people in power, let's put it that way. So like physicians have an abnormal amount of power over a lot of people. um I had a patient right down the road from where I live right now that her physician told her that she would never walk again because of the MRI on her back. And I looked at her and I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And we walked that day.
Oh
So she
my
didn't walk.
gosh.
She did not walk for 4 years before she met me. Yep. Because she had it stuck in her head that she wasn't allowed to walk. I have another patient that was 70 years old, and she's like, you're the first person that's told me that um I'm not dying and I don't need to slow down. I was like, screw slowing down. So we were doing probably a workout that wouldn't be approved by Medicare for home health, but I knew nobody else was going to do it with her. So we were doing like lunges up to a single leg stance, back down to a lunge. Then we were doing like airplane pose and yoga. She's 70 and she was kicking butt.
Yeah, and you probably changed your life.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So yeah,
Yeah.
don't let other people put limits on you and don't put limits on other people
Hmm.
that are just in your head.
Yeah, and
So
that goes back to, if somebody did say something to you that was limiting, and you might not even remember it. Like this might be like so ingrained in your own self-talk that you don't remember that somebody else said that to you. Question yourself when you have those self-limiting beliefs. Where did that come from? Why do I think that? Where is that? Like, that narrative doesn't just come out of nowhere. And why am I trusting that narrative instead of a narrative that says I can do it, I am strong, I am capable, I am worthy?
So that reminds me of a quote that we're going to end on, from the movie The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith and Jaden Smith. And at one point in the movie, he's playing basketball, Jaden is. And I don't remember what its name is in the movie. But Will Smith, I think Jaden says something like, I want to be an NBA player or something. And Will Smith looks at him and says, yeah, you're probably going to be about average. And then the kid gets upset, kicks the ball, and then Will realizes what he did right there. He just crushed his kid's dream with no evidence that he should do it, other than Will was about average. And then he says, he grabs him, he gets pissed at himself, and he grabs his son and he says, you got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. If you want something, go get it. Period. I love that quote.
Wow. I've never seen
Thanks,
that movie.
everybody.
That was great.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.